I want to end this show on positives, so let's start with the negatives.
Mhm.
What's the first negative for you? Looking at what happened in the first 2 match days, can be a club player, etc. What's a negative that stood out for you in the first 2 match days?
Ooh, what a tantalizing question. It's hard, like I feel
Really?
almost harsh criticizing anyone or any group after just 2 matches. I think on paper, Stuttgart has had a nightmare start, haven't they, with just 1 point from 2 games.
Mm,
But when you actually watch them play, they're playing the same type of football they played last year. So
yeah.
I think they're missing the composure that Waldemar Anton brought to the back line, and in general, the team has to find itself a little bit again in the essential positions, with, Girassi and Ito also having departed. So that's one that comes to mind, but I also wouldn't call them, you know, a terrible, they're not the Red Lantern carriers for me.
Mm.
Ooh, it's difficult. Honestly, maybe Dortmund's attack.
Yeah.
Something that comes to mind. I think in the first match, it was really just Jamie Gittens, not Jamie Bino Gittens anymore.
Mm,
He wants to be called Jamie Gittens now. Jamie Gittens, who pretty much through his individual class decided that match in 2 brilliant moments. But in their second game, I think they hardly had any shots on target. And
yeah.
Maxi Bayer really didn't, I was just praising him a few minutes ago, but as a number 9 in this Dortmund attack, he looked lost. He didn't get many balls from his teammates, and they just looked depleted after the departure of Füllkrug and, with Girassi still sidelined with injury. So it's difficult, but I think, of course, Jadon Sancho is also missing from attack. There's just that kind of black and yellow storm that we love to see sometimes. I'm not really recognizing that just yet.
I'm so glad you brought up Dortmund because I'm in so much agreement with you there. I think it's it's so hard, right? Because 4 points of the 2 games is pretty good,
Yeah.
but I just wasn't convinced at all. It seems like so much of the same old. I couldn't tell you that there was a new head coach on the bench, for example,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And that is something that I was so hopeful, and maybe we're still going to see it, right? Maybe this international break, although so many players are going to be gone, will help Nuri Sahin a little bit, but it just doesn't feel like there's anything fresh there. And I had so much hope for this attack of Maxi Bayer and Serhou Guirassy, and of course Guirassy will this break will help him, right? Because he gets time to recover and finally come back, but maybe it's going to get better with him, but I'm also worried that maybe he was a one-hit wonder, Marie. That is something that he still has to convince me of, that he's actually can do this for more than one season, because what he did last year, he's never done before, right? And so, yeah, Dortmund has been a lot of the same old for me. I think Stuttgart, I think they actually played really well. I watched them in the Super Cup. I thought they played fantastic there. They deserved to win that game, to be honest with you. Then the second game and the third game that I've seen, I mean, both of those games, they really got undone by the defense, and that's where you really see Ito and Anton missing, right? And so they have, I think Hoeneß will be okay. I think he's going to reshuffle that and restructure it, and it's just going to take some time. I think the international break is really going to help them. And remember, last year they didn't have them. They had a great and a really bad start, right? It was 5-0, 5-1 defeat, 5-0 win. So it isn't like they came out of the gate guns blazing last year either. And I think ultimately, if they finish top 9, from what I've heard and from talking to people there, they're going to be quite happy with it. I'm going to give you another one that I thought was quite a little bit disappointed in, is the 2 promoted sides. Kiel and St. Pauli. St. Pauli in particular. I mean,
Yeah.
Kiel, I don't think the expectations are very high. But with St. Pauli, we kind of maybe think, okay, they might be okay because there's some other teams that are below them that are probably even worse. I'm looking at Bochum and Augsburg and Kiel. But I just kind of felt like maybe I wanted to see a little bit more of, in particular, St. Pauli. And I think like Blazin has a lot of work still cut out for him. It just isn't quite there yet. It seemed almost naive a little bit in their approach of how to handle the Bundesliga. And I just don't know if this is going to work for them if they keep playing like that.
Yeah, yeah, and even just the opening match day, you know, everyone was kind of looking at that tie, the home game against Heidenheim, who had lost their three most prolific goal scorers. You know, everyone was looking at that thinking, you know, maybe St. Pauli will come in, you know, with all guns blazing, and they just really didn't. And they deservedly lost. And yeah, I think it's you're right. The two teams have been underwhelming. I think Kiel, given the quality at their disposal, is actually doing the best they can. I watched them at Hoffenheim on match day 1, and they got the basics right. Yes, they conceded 3 goals, but one was a penalty kick, and the other 2 were Kramaric, you know, just being Kramaric. In the past decade, only Robert Lewandowski has scored more Bundesliga goals than Kramaric, so he's really a natural wonder, so to speak. And it's he's like a force of nature. And Holstein Kiel, you know, they played quite nicely out from the back. They've got some good guys on the wings, and they scored 2 goals in their first ever Bundesliga appearance. And then, of course, they struggled against Wolfsburg, but I think they're going to be scrappy and pick up some points here and there. So, I think we don't have to delude ourselves into thinking that one of these two teams is going to go on a Heidenheim-like run. But I think they'll pick up their first wins very soon.
Yeah, and then maybe my final one, and maybe this has been coming, but Leverkusen look really shaded. I thought in the Super Cup they deserved to lose. The way that Gladbach came back and almost got a point there, and then they gave up 2 goals again after a 2-0 lead, and then ultimately lost to Leipzig. And I think that's been a defeat, long time coming, Marie. For Leverkusen, I think Alonso really has to sit down and maybe teach his players that wins aren't going to come naturally to you in the 101st minute every match day.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching this and I really enjoyed the production choices made by the World Feed people, who kept zooming in on these absolutely flabbergasted Leverkusen fans who were like, when are they gonna score? You know, like from the 70th minute, they were just like, this isn't part of the script. Like...
Oh, I have a story for you there. So I was at the Super Cup, right? And where I was based. I was part of the media visit with the DFL, and where I was based, I was writing my 3 thoughts for the gegenpressing Substack. But there was a couple fans in that area too, and they saw me writing the report. And you know how it is, you prepare too, right? And I had like one that's prepared, and that site was open where the scenario was Leverkusen finally lose a match, right?
Yeah.
And one of the fans is like, how can you write this? We're going to win the match still. And I'm like, well, currently, look, Stuttgart is all over you, right? It's 2-1, and you're man down, and you don't deserve winning this game. And then, of course, Schick makes it 2-2, and he comes storming over and says, I told you this would be happening, yelling at me. I'm like, well, what can I do? They were so sure. And then, of course, they went in penalties, and I heard it again. But I just flipped open the other page. And I'm like, well, I'm fine. Like, I'm prepared for this. I'm not an idiot. I know how to do this job. But, you know, I just I just felt there too that this they just kind of eventually they had to, I'm not gonna say run out of luck, but eventually they had to run out of steam.
Yeah,
Um,
well said. I
and
think that's true.
you saw it already last season towards the tail end, right? What is it, 9 points that they got from goals, late goals? Mind you, they won the league by 17 points, so that's not why they won the Bundesliga. But you, sooner or later, this in German there's this really wonderful word, Selbstverständnis. This self-assurance, or this fact of life that you were going to win a game late. Sooner or later, that was going to run out. And I think maybe for them it's a negative. I think because I don't think they have played well the first two games. But I
Mm.
think this might be actually a good thing for Alonso in the long term.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we just, you didn't mention Leipzig at all there, which I think we
Well, I
know
was
you
going to
could give.
save them for the positives.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. But I was just as an aside, I think they also have a part to play in Leverkusen's series
Yeah.
in the end of the winning streak. So it always takes two to tango,
Yeah.
and they were a very worthy opponent.